schedule, but we are here. Let's go straight into it. All right. The World Cup final was played yesterday, and finally, we know the champions of the world, Luis de la Fuente, Spain. Probably the most deserving World Cup champions of maybe the last 20 years. Of course, I dare say, because from the beginning of the tournament up until yesterday, they played fantastic football. And even though Cape Verde held them to a scoreless draw in the first game, that was the last time any team actually could stand toe to toe with them or even resist their onslaught. And yesterday, Argentina were on the wrong end of it, put to the sword. 20 shots, 12 on target to Argentina's one off target and none on target in 120 minutes of good football from Spain alone, scintillating and exciting just from La Furia Roja. Of course, La Albiceleste came to play dirty football. We saw what La Albiroja did against France, and we condemned it. So we are right to condemn the tactics employed by Lionel Scaloni and his men, which ultimately led to two sending-offs. One in the 93rd minute, Enzo Fernandez, and one at the end of the match when Leandro Paredes decided to be a wrestler, throwing haymakers around. All right, Argentina did nothing worthy of note on the pitch from the first minute to the last, and Leo Messi, who is usually almost unplayable, was nowhere to be seen, conspicuously absent throughout the proceedings. And Ferran Torres came off the bench to score an extra time winner against Argentina. It has happened before. In 2014, Mario Götze came off the bench for Germany to score a 114th minute winner against Messi's Argentina, even though Leo Messi became the first player to appear in 3 finals. Well, and the oldest player, well, Cafu, Morales, Marcos did it. So Messi became the first captain to appear in 3 World Cup finals. Cafu did it as a player, not as a captain in all 3, but Cafu also captained one of the World Cup finals. All right, so Leo Messi, of course, also had the unfortunate record of losing another World Cup final. So Argentina, alongside Germany, have lost the most World Cup finals. Argentina 1930, 1990, 2014. And 2026. Ultimately, Messi left the World Cup with the silver ball when he thought he was going to win it all, especially taking the golden ball. Let's not forget that in 2014, when Germany won it, we know who was given the golden ball. So this was well-deserved, well-earned. And this is the first time in the history of the World Cup that a player without a goal or assist was named golden ball. And that's Rodri, who has completed football. He has won pretty much everything: the Ballon d'Or, the Champions League, the Premier League. He has won the UEFA Nations League, the UEFA European Championships. He has now won the World Cup, and he was deservedly named player of the tournament. Of course, had more completed passes, of course, ran more than anyone else in the World Cup. So Rodri, Spain, Luis de la Fuente, and others have won the World Cup. Let us not forget that some of the guys who won the World Cup were trained by Luis de la Fuentes from under 19 level. In 2015, it was the likes of Unai Simon, Dani Olmo. In 2021, we had Fabian Ruiz, Unai Simon, Dani Olmo, and Mikel Merino, who won the Under-21 championships with Luis de la Fuentes. And now it has been a culmination of all the hard work done. Luis de la Fuentes' belief in youth has finally paid off. Of course, it has been paying off. They won the Nations League in 2023. They lost last year in the final to Portugal. They won the UEFA European Championships, beating England in the final, and they have now won the World Cup, cementing De La Fuentes' position as one of the greatest managers of all time. And he will also go down as probably the greatest Spanish manager of all time. Let us also give credit to Vicente Del Bosque, who won the World Cup and 2 consecutive European championships. But yeah, Luis de la Fuente has done incredibly well. Lionel Scaloni has also said that he may manage La Celeste, Argentina, until December and throw in the towel. Of course, it is time for the likes of Leo Messi to bow out of the beautiful game. Maybe at international level, he will continue to ply his trade in America with Inter Miami. But for the international team, I think the window, the door is closed. He's 39 years old. He's no stranger to retirement. He has retired before, even shed tears the way he shed tears yesterday, and what have you. All right, so Argentina's negative tactics, rightly condemned by a lot of sports analysts and ex-football players. Tony Cruz of one of such, who said football won at the end of proceedings. All right, so Spain actually came to play football, Argentina came to fight all over the pitch, and that is what we saw. Spain from start to finish dominated proceedings, dominated the entire encounter, and they were at second for England. France came out storming out of the blocks in the second half after making important changes in Didier Deschamps' final game for the French national team. The Upamecano came in, Lucadine came in, Ousmane Dembele came on as well, and that changed the the structure of the French national team. And Michael Olise, of course, moved into the 10 role and quickly delivered an assist for Kylian Mbappe. That was a perfectly weighed pass, which was duly dispatched by Kylian Mbappe for his 9th World Cup goal and 21st overall, record equaling 21st goal. And the go-ahead goal came as he scored the third for France, the second for France as well, and it was 4-3, and things were becoming dicey. Then came Jude Bellingham, that pass to Morgan Rogers, who in turn had to feed Jed Spence, which led to a penalty, and Bukayo Saka scored a hat-trick. Of course, Jude Bellingham allowed him to play the penalty. Teamwork makes the dream work, and Jude Bellingham became the highest goal scorer in a single tournament for England at the World Cup when he scored the 6th goal for England, and that was the match-clinching goal, even though Ousmane Dembele scored one to make it 5-4 in favor of England and helping France to reduce the deficit. David Upamecano was instrumental in that resurgence and recovery, and it was a good match all around for the French national team and the English national team. Bradley Barcola also came on and scored the second goal for France to make it 4-2 before Kylian Mbappe scored his 22nd World Cup goal in 22 matches, now the highest goal scorer in World Cup history, eclipsing the Leo Messi 21 goals record. All right, Kylian Mbappe ended the World Cup tournament as the Golden Boot winner, first player in history to win 2 consecutive Golden Boots at the World Cup. Of course, that is Kylian Mbappe, and Kylian Mbappe also ended the tournament with 10 goals and 4 assists. Incredible, and becoming the first player in the history of football to emerge as the highest goal scorer in La Liga, the highest goal scorer in the Champions League, and the highest goal scorer at the World Cup. 50 goals scored in those 3 tournaments, 25 to win the Pichichi Award in La Liga, 15 to win the highest goal scorer award in the UEFA Champions League, and 10 to win the highest goal scorer award at the FIFA World Cup. Unai Simon, 7 clean sheets in the World Cup. Only conceded 1 goal, and that goal was scored by Charles de Catalera of Belgium. So a World Cup or 2 in him. So that's for the World Cup. So many things have happened at the World Cup. Jude Bellingham, of course, became the highest goal scoring midfielder in World Cup history in a single tournament. No midfielder had scored 7 World Cup goals before, all right, in a single tournament. Jude Bellingham also was England's highest goal scorer in this World Cup tournament, and England's highest goal scorer in a single World Cup tournament, breaking the record previously held jointly by Gary Lineker and Harry Kane. So good things for Jude Bellingham, who is only 23 years old. Fantastic player, and he has the future at his feet. All right. So big news for Chelsea, who of course stole Morgan Rogers from under the nose of Arsenal. Arsenal heavily interested in him, decided to dilly-dally, and Chelsea definitely capitalized on that delay, and a bit of hesitation, and Chelsea eventually seized the initiative and agreed a 117 million pound British record deal with Aston Villa for the transfer of Morgan Rogers. Of course, the British transfer records have been broken over the years. Elliot Anderson just set it a few weeks ago, and Morgan Rogers' transfer has broken it by, well, £1 million. That's a lot of money. 117 million, 116 million, 115 million for Felipe Caicedo from Brighton to Chelsea, 107 million for Enzo Fernandez from Benfica to Chelsea. So a lot of money has changed hands between different clubs, whether in the Premier League or outside the Premier League. So many records tumbling, whether it is transfers or at the World Cup, and we are looking at pre-season games. Chief of all, Wrexham defeating Manchester United. People can say makeshift or what have you, or second string, but it was Manchester United who played that match, whether the big boys were there or not. Marcus Rashford is also looking to remain at Manchester United, except a top club seizes the initiative to sign him, because he has rejected offers from Fenerbahce and a host of others, because he does not consider those clubs among the elite. So he's looking at Real Madrid, AC Milan. I don't know if AC Milan can be considered elite, but by virtue of what they have won, definitely an elite club. The Rossoneri have Ruben Amorim as their new coach, and they have agreed a deal to extend Luka Modric's contract for an extra year. So that is it for some of these players. The World Cup awards, end of the World Cup awards. Paul Kubasi, rightly and deservedly named Young Player of the Year. The Lamine Yamal publicity who did a promotional push for the media did not yield the right results, and Paul Kubasi was deservedly named the Young Player of the Year. Golden Glove, of course, none other than Unai Simon. Golden Ball, Rodri. Silver Ball, Leo Messi. Bronze Ball, Kylian Mbappe. For those who don't know what these things mean, Golden Ball means the player of the tournament, and Rodri won that. The Silver Ball means the assistant or the second best player of the tournament, and Leo Messi won that, and Kylian Mbappe was named the third best player of the tournament. Kylian Mbappe leaves the World Cup as the highest goal scorer in its history. 22 World Cup goals in 22 matches. Fantastic, phenomenal, absolutely mind-boggling statistics from the Frenchman there, and he has at least one more World Cup in him. When he's 35, he may not be a starter anymore. Who knows? So the Zinedine Zidane era has finally kick-started for the French national team. It's still Sports Grandeur on OJ 106.3 FM Benin, and some tennis updates will come your way immediately as Stefano Tsitsipas definitely broke a 16-month jinx by winning a tennis tournament. Of course, it wasn't so good for his Greek counterpart, Maria Sakkari, who lost the final of Athens to Barbara Krejcikova, because Andrei Rublev defeated Lucas Donderi to win a tournament as well. So these guys are winning, and hopefully they can carry this form to the US hardcourt swing, where Carlos Alcaraz has announced that he will return to tennis at the Cincinnati Open. So it is good news for us tennis fans. Carlos Alcaraz was in the US yesterday to celebrate with his nation as Spain won the World Cup for the second time. So a second star secured for Spain by Luis de la Fuente and those who contributed immensely. The likes of Dani Olmo, Ferran Torres from the bench. Of course, he has missed so many chances all through the tournament, but the goal that counted is the one that he scored. So without Ferran Torres, there wouldn't have been a winner. We saw how the substitutes fared against Argentina. They actually contributed so much to ensure that Spain won that tournament. So the World Cup has been won by Spain. Looking forward to another 4 years in Portugal, Morocco, and Spain, of course, who will be joint hosts of the 2030 World Cup. Even the Nigerian Super Eagles ex-handle congratulated Spain and said, "See you in 2030." I don't know what that means, but whatever it means, congratulations to the Spanish national team. Andrei Rublev, like we said, won the Northern Open in Bastard, while Stefanos Tsitsipas captured the EFG Swiss Open in Bastard. Barbara Krejcikova recently claimed the Athens Open title. Rublev defeated Luciano Danderi in the men's singles final. Stefanos Tsitsipas ended a 16-month drought by winning the EFG Swiss Open over Rafael Colinon. All right, so Barbara Krejcikova has been a Czech season. Barbara Krejcikova, Linda Noskova, Caroline Muchova, and Maria Buzkova winning titles in Berlin, in Bad Hamburg, in Athens, at Wimbledon, and so on and so forth. All right, Emma Raducanu, a former US Open champion, definitely a Grand Slam winner, is currently recovering from injuries and making decisions regarding her return date. All right, Alexander Erla, the Filipino who broke some records this year and made history as the first Filipino to reach the fourth round of Wimbledon, is making headlines after a Wimbledon run and teaming up again with Venus Williams at the DC Open in Washington. Iga Swiatek has been facing pressure to adjust her strategy after struggling in recent times. We remember her visit to the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca, but it hasn't really yielded the right results. The six-time Grand Slam champion will be looking to go back to the drawing board and see where she has got it wrong in order to make amends and get back to winning ways, because the likes of Arina Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina, Elena Svitolina, and Coco Gauff and others are looking to continue their impressive runs. Mira Andreeva is also there, and there are a few tennis players. Victoria Mboko will be looking to come back from injury and do a lot of damage. Barbara Vanessa Andreescu, who is a former Grand Slam champion as well, a former US Open champion and a worthy Grand Slam champion. Naomi Osaka, four-time Grand Slam champion, will also be looking to make some inroads in the US hardcourt swing, which the headlines have been dominated by Carlos Alcaraz's return to Cincinnati and Venus and Serena Williams playing many tournaments in the US hardcourt swing, which will end with their appearances at the US Open, where they have won multiple titles. So that's for tennis. Let's go straight to the transfer news. For transfer news, there are a lot of things that have happened. We've already talked about Morgan Rogers, who will be having his medical today at Chelsea after accepting to transfer to Chelsea rather than Arsenal. Of course, a lot of things weighed on his mind, and he was convinced that he will perform better at Chelsea with the partnering the likes of Cole Palmer and while Pedro. Arsenal, no slouch in their own right. They've got very good players. Bukayo Saka is a very, very good player. I wouldn't call him world class. A lot of people throw that world class around, that phrase world class around. It is not for everyone. You got to earn it. So that is exactly what we are talking about. The English national team should be proud of their third place finish, their highest finish since 1966. Whatever you say about Thomas Tuchel, you can criticize him all you want, but numbers don't lie. Thomas Tuchel is the first manager to take England to third place after they won the World Cup 60 years ago. The last time England won the World Cup was in 1966. That's your first hat-trick in the final. All right. So now England won third place, courtesy Jude Bellingham, especially Bukayo Saka, who scored a hat trick. So you might be saying there must be that feeling among England fans, that strong feeling of what might have been if Thomas Tuchel wasn't stubborn and recalcitrant enough to not to start Bukayo Saka and Marcus Rashford either side of Harry Kane in attack. We saw the damage they caused against France, even though France may have relaxed at the beginning of that match and defensive errors led to those goals, but England pressed. If you do not make the mistake, your opponent does not capitalize on it. So that is that for that. So for transfer news update, Morgan Rogers medical will soon happen today. Definitely today it is happening. Morgan Rogers is Chelsea bound. 117 million pounds is an offer that Aston Villa could not refuse. If you are conversant with Francis Ford Coppola's godfather, you remember when Marlon Brando, who acted the role of Don Vito Corleone, said they will make him an offer he cannot refuse. So when you make people offers they can't refuse, they have no choice but to succumb and give in. That's what Aston Villa did. Aston Villa have also welcomed the signing of Yohan Manzambi, officially unveiled by Aston Villa from Freiburg. All right, Yohan Manzambi will be looking to add to the rank and file of Aston Villa. Everton could rival Inter Milan in the race to sign Tottenham defender Jet Spence this summer. The 25-year-old attracted interest after impressing for England at the World Cup and could leave Spurs. Definitely, he has had an impressive World Cup, turn it a new one, definitely, especially the last 2 or 3 games. Jet Spence was practically unplayable, so Everton could step up their pursuit. Let us see who has more money or where Jet Spence's future lies. He will make the right choice, hopefully, for the sake of his career upgrade. Crystal Palace said ultimatum for Maxence Lacroix exit amidst Chelsea interest. All right. Confirmed. Tiernan Thompson's move to Manchester United is worth £8 million, made up of £4 million upfront plus £4 million in add-ons. Tottenham have a 20% sell-on clause. Player and his family expressed a desire to relocate due to personal circumstances. All right. So Tiernan Thompson is definitely a Manchester United player, and he's so happy looking at his pictures here, smiling for the cameras and signing his professional contract. All right, Aston Villa have signed Joao Gomez from Wolves for £38 million. We announced that before, but it is now official. The deal is worth an initial £34 million and another £4 million in add-ons. Very good deal after Joao Neves's move to Atletico Madrid collapsed for reasons best known to both clubs. Juventus could move for Fiorentina goalkeeper David De Gea if they fail to sign Dibu Martinez, the Argentine number 1 for a long time, who is also the number 1 at Aston Villa. We remember that Manchester United cooled their interest in him last season or last summer when they eventually signed Senne Lammens, of course, from the Belgian league. De Gea is under contract until 2028 with an option to 2029, while Fiorentina currently do not want to sell him. So unlike Manchester United, Fiorentina consider David De Gea unsellable. All right, so let us see how that evolves or develops. Hull City are closing in on the signing of former Newcastle United left back Matt Targett on a free transfer. All right, the 30-year-old is expected to undergo a medical before joining Hull's pre-season training camp in Slovenia. Targett is set to sign a 2-year deal despite attracting interest, all right, from West Ham and Norwich City. Okay, so Real Madrid are set to sign Michael Olise. It's a developing news. It's still a speculation, so we are not certain of this situation. The presidential pact was supposed to close the door, whatever it is. I don't know. It is not certain. So they have been interested. Of course, Florentino Perez promised Real Madrid a Galactico upon his victory over Enrique Riquelme in that presidential election. So let us see how that goes. All right. So Morgan Rogers has arrived for a medical with Chelsea this morning ahead of completing a British record £117 million move from Aston Villa. All other formalities are set to be completed. So Morgan Rogers, congratulations on your move to Chelsea. Rafael Leao wants to leave AC Milan this summer. He has repeatedly signaled his intention to leave the Rossoneri. He has done well. He has done well. He has made significant contributions to the San Siro outfit. He wants to leave. He needs new well, he needs a new challenge. He has been at Serie A for a long time, so he needs a new challenge. Barcelona and Manchester United have made inquiries through agents while Aston Villa could have funds available. Milan want around 60 million euros for Leao, but could accept 50 million euros with his current contract running until 2028. Liverpool have joined Manchester United in the race to sign Roma midfielder Manu Kone this summer. So it is going to be a 2 or 3 horse race because Arsenal recently signified their intention to add him to their ranks. All right, both clubs have monitored the 25-year-old, while Liverpool now view him as one of their leading midfield targets. Liverpool, they've got very good midfielders, or maybe they want to bolster their ranks, which is not a crime. Roma are willing to consider offers because of their financial situation, while Kone still has 3 years left on his contract. His stock has risen after decent performances at the World Cup, and he's definitely a reliable midfield enforcer. All right, so let us see how that will pan out. Okay, so there's some news on Manchester United being interested in a Nottingham Forest star. Let us see how that develops, but let us give you the information as we have it. So some fullbacks carry a very specific kind of value. So let us see who Manchester United are interested in at Nottingham Forest. According to reports, Manchester United are plotting a move to sign Williams from Nottingham Forest this summer. All right, with scouts having been monitored with the 25-year-old Wales international closely over the past 1 year. So I'm sure that is also a developing story, nothing concrete for now. There are speculations everywhere. If you notice how Manchester United have been securing their deals or purchases since their acquisitions, there hasn't been a lot of talk surrounding it. They just go in and get the player they need. That's how they did with Andre Santos, Kyle Dallo, and Yuri Telemann. So far, so good. No media hype, no overload, no speculation whatsoever. They just went there and got the deals done. All right, Lazio are interested in West Ham right back Aaron Wan-Bissaka after his impressive World Cup. The Italian club valued the 28-year-old below West Ham's asking price, but while Everton are no longer in pursuit of his signature. Arsenal also have Wan-Bissaka on the list of potential options as they access their transfer targets. All right, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, after leaving Manchester United, went to West Ham, and now some clubs are interested in signing him. That's good for the DR Congo defender. Aston Villa and Chelsea are interested in signing Bologna winger Jonathan Rowe this summer. Both Premier League clubs have Jonathan on their shortlist, while contacts are taking place for a contract to be signed. All right, so the interest isn't cooling at all for the Bologna winger. For AS Roma, they were interested in signing Christensen Somerville, but West Ham's valuation, of course, put them off. They cannot afford it because of their financial situation. They recently secured the contract extension of Paulo Dybala and looking to recoup funds. That's why they are interested in the sale of Manu Kone, which will raise some funds for them to look elsewhere for other targets. All right, so Fulham boss Alvaro Arbeloa wants to sign Real Madrid, though Franco Mastantuono and Gonzalo Garcia this summer. Arbeloa worked with both players at Madrid and is pushing Fulham to bring them to Craven Cottage. Let us see if Jose Mourinho will budge. If he doesn't have them in his plans, then he might, of course, give them to his former player Alvaro Arbeloa. I think they maintain a good relationship, and Alvaro recently left Real Madrid. I do not think he left on the basis of infighting or whatever. I do not think there's any rancor or acrimony between Alvaro Arbeloa and Real Madrid. They maintain a good relationship, so the signings should go through if they are interested in leaving Real Madrid for Fulham. The London club will be very appreciative if two Real Madrid players eventually end up signing for them. Players who are under 25, that will be significant for the London club. All right. So Arsenal are considering a free transfer for John Stones as cover for injured midfielder William Saliba. Saliba unfortunately had that injury, and that culminated in France's ouster from the World Cup. Well, ouster because they were eliminated in the semi-finals and had to play that third place final against England, and they lost against England as well. All right, Stones is a free agent after leaving Manchester City and could reunite with former Chelsea assistant, a former Manchester City assistant, Mikel Arteta. All right, Dominic Szoboszlai has officially signed his Liverpool contract extension. That was expected. All right, Manchester United and West Ham are interested in signing Leicester City defender Ben Nelson this summer. The 22-year-old wants to leave Leicester and can play as centre back or left back, with Torino and Borussia Mönchengladbach also interested. Lisandro Martinez, the butcher, a Manchester United defender, succumbed to injury yesterday and was replaced by Benfica's Nicolas Otamendi. So Licha is injury prone. He has also been unavailable for for many months at Manchester United. Recently recovered from a knee injury and has and is injured again. Hopefully Manchester United can buy a temporary replacement until he is fully fit. All right, he was unfortunately injured yesterday in the 44th minute and had to be replaced by Nicolas Otamendi, who is a dependable midfielder on his day. All right, Hull City are in talks to sign Aston Villa winger Leon Bailey as they strengthen for the Premier League. Aston Villa would prefer a permanent deal, while Trabzonspor and Celta Vigo are also interested in the 28-year-old. Let us not forget that Kelechi Iheanacho has gone to Chelsea. The man nicknamed Senior Man has gone to Turkey. It has been signed by Bursaspor, not Chelsea. All right, Kelechi Iheanacho, aka Senior Man, is now plying his trade in Turkey for Bursaspor. And just look at how beautiful that unveiling was. It means that they value his signature and welcome his addition to the team. All right, so let's continue with some transfer news for different clubs. Manchester City has set to block any attempts to sign defender Tijani Reinders. Tijani Reinders was named after our very own Tijani Babangida. Newcastle, Atletico Madrid and Galatasaray have all been linked with moves for the Netherlands international, but Enzo Maresca has said he is part of his plans and is not interested in selling the Netherlands international. All right, so for the Netherlands international, he is expected to stay at Manchester City, except a deal that will convince Enzo Maresca and the City hierarchy will come before the end of the transfer window. City signed Reinders from AC Milan for 55 million euros last summer and are unlikely to sanction his departure. So let's see how that goes. Tijani Reinders during the second half of the season was more on the bench than on the field of play. So all right, so let's see how that develops. Real Madrid will not sign Borussia Dortmund centre back Nico Schlotterbeck this summer, a clause that could have allowed Madrid to sign the German international for around 50 million euros has now expired. All right. Strettenberg suffered a long-term injury at the World Cup, further ending the possibility of a summer move. That's quite unfortunate for the Borussia Dortmund defense Trojan. Manchester City midfielder Rodri wants to join Real Madrid this summer after the World Cup. Big news for Jose Mourinho. Madrid boss Jose Mourinho remains interested in the Golden Ball winner, the best player at the FIFA 2026 World Cup and a former Ballon d'Or winner. However, Real Madrid currently have no intention of making a move to sign Rodri. Real Madrid as a club currently have no intention, but Rodri is interested in joining. Jose Mourinho is a huge admirer. He's interested, but Real Madrid, the hierarchy, currently have no intention. So let's see if that changes and over the course of this transfer window. Leeds United signed World Cup star for, well, all right. Leeds United, they've signed a big player, so their second biggest transfer deal or recruitment in their history. So let's see who they have signed. All right. So all right, so let's not forget that we announced initially that Leeds United had an agreement to sign Tariq Muharamovic in a £34 million deal with Sassuolo, letting him go. So he's Leeds United's second most expensive signing. All right, £34.1 million for the 23-year-old Bosnia and Herzegovina international who was instrumental to the sending off of Folarin Balogun, even though that sending off was suspended by FIFA. FIFA, for the first time, handed out championship rings to the victorious team at the FIFA World Cup final. So Rodri and co were the first recipients of championship rings from the world governing body FIFA. Chelsea are closing in on Crystal Palace centre-back Maxence Lacroix after agreeing personal terms in principle. This 26-year-old wants the move, with talks between Chelsea and Palace now reaching a crucial stage. Chelsea are moving closer to Palace's £55 million valuation, with growing confidence that an agreement will be reached. All right, Aston Villa have held talks with Chelsea over moves for Nicholas Jackson and Alejandro Garnacho this summer. Unai Emery views Jackson as a major target, while Garnacho will be open to joining Villa for regular football. All right, Garnacho also has been courted by Roma and has given priority to Roma based on the information I have at my disposal. Tottenham Hotspur are interested in Benfica winger Andres Soderstrom as an alternative to Savinho. All right, so Soderstrom did very well for Norway, scored that opening goal in that quarterfinal match against England. Of course, Jude Bellingham and others had other ideas, but that Norwegian did very well at the World Cup. The 22-year-old impressed for Norway at the World Cup with 4 assists and the goal against England. Of course, Soderstrom could be available for around £43 million and is open to a Premier League move, but Benfica want to keep him. Well, that's what a lot of clubs say. I want to keep him. I want to keep him. But if a deal that is irresistible, too difficult to refuse, comes, he will definitely jump ship. All right. So yeah, so that's it for transfers. Let's not forget that transfers keep going, and the preseason will kickstart proper when these guys start arriving from their World Cup breaks. The World Cup break officially starts today for everyone. That is exactly the situation at the moment. The World Cup has finally ended, with Spain emerging victorious. Luis de la Fuente has become the oldest winner of a World Cup as a coach, 65 years old, and he has done very well so far, so good. But I keep thinking that there must be an older winner. How old was Mario Zagallo? I don't know. But for now, Spain's Luis de la Fuente has done incredibly well, has won youth tournaments, has won the Euros, won the Nations League, and now he has won the World Cup with practically the same crop of players. Lamine Yamal, as a teenager, has won two Premier League titles, that's the Spanish La Liga titles, has won the World Cup, and has also won the Euros. Of course, he lit up the Euros, scored beautiful goals, and created impressive ones as well. So that's all we can take today on Sports Grandeur on OJ 106.3 FM Benin. My name is Ohis Eboreme, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow to give you more transfer updates and more tennis news as we gear up for the US hardcourt swing. Thank you very much, and cheers.